Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Thank you so much for joining this webinar by the Long Duration Energy Storage. My name is Oghosa Erhahon. I'm a policy intern. Just before I move on, I would like to hand it over to Julia Soldiers, who's the CEO of the LDES Council, to introduce us and this webinar. Over to you, Julia.
Thank you, Oghosa. Thank you all so much for joining us today. This is really great to promote the amazing leaders we have at the Long Duration Storage Council. And yes, they're also women, but they do phenomenal work. And it's just great to hear for their background and kind of also what their challenges are, how they see the growing market going, and really speak to what they're focusing on. So look forward to having Carla, who's from SLB, they're also on our board, join the call, and Rachel from BP, who's been a founding member of the council from the beginning. So glad to have you here. And Wendy from Cattle, one of our most recent joiners, to kind of come in and talk about the kind of technology, the markets, and all these other aspects. So again, really appreciate you taking the time. The council was launched at COP26 to really promote the $4 trillion US marketplace. We're shooting for a global market to meet net zero goals of 8 terawatts by 2050 or 2040, and really looking even more on looking at how we can reach the 2030 goals. So what's really important is how long duration storage is a keystone to this energy transition, and it's so critical to all the economies in the ecosystem. So look forward to hearing from our panelists today of speaking about how they see the value of long duration storage and the work that you're all doing to continue to open up more markets and work with key partners. And look forward to your questions too. Oghosa, back to you, and thank you all for joining.
Thank you so much, Julia. Just some quick housekeeping before we formally introduce our speakers today. This webinar will be recorded, so that means it will be available on our LDES Council YouTube page in a few weeks or so. It's also going to be an interactive webinar, so please drop your questions in the Q&A box, which is right beside the chat box. And then towards the end, we will have an opportunity for us to exchange questions or raise some questions that participants may have. Great. If we just maybe start with introducing our speakers. So Erge, if you can nicely show us who we have joining us today. Thank you so much. So to kick things off, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Again, I just love the numbers popping in. Rachel Reed will be joining us from BP, and she's the Ventures Investments Director. We have Carla Barbera, who's the Director of Business Development and Marketing at SLB New Energy. We also have Wendy Joan, who is the Director of Energy Storage Systems at Cattel, and moderated by myself, Oghosa Erhahon, who's a policy intern at the LDES Council. These phenomenal women are all members of our council, and as you know already, you can check our website. We are a growing group of member-led non-for-profit organization, and we're obviously wanting to enhance the conversation on women, not only in the renewable space, but in LDES, in the long-duration energy industry. It's important that we're having this conversation today, firstly, because actually applaudingly to our team, the LDES Council does actually have over half of our secretariat team being women. We also have an internal long-standing LDES women in LDES working group where these women are also members of. So everyone is in good standing, and we're hoping to have a very informative conversation today. Right, well, ladies, I'm going to let you kindly introduce yourselves while we prepare for our first questions. So why don't we start with you, Rachel, if you could briefly just introduce yourself and the work you do at BP.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me today. As you said, I'm Rachel Reid. I'm an investment director with BP Ventures, which is the venture capital team of BP. I've been with BP since 2012. I've had different roles over that time across different energy technology solutions, from engineering and operations through to strategy and business development. I graduated in 2013 from the University of Strathclyde in Scotland with a master's in mechanical engineering. At that time, a career in low carbon energy transition was always really important to me. And I also had a strong belief from an early stage that large corporates had to play a critical role in achieving these goals, got scale, people, capital, assets, which is why I joined BP. Initially in our upstream business, working in the North Sea in the UK, where I worked on offshore platforms with supervisory roles, and then had various office-based engineering roles and project delivery roles. I had continued my passion for sustainability and moved into a strategy role in about 2020, where I was part of BP's core team that built out our energy transition strategy. really grew breadth and depth across different low carbon energy technologies from power, including energy storage, hydrogen, carbon management, bioenergy, and different end applications. And also grew my global understanding across different business groups that BP has. I made the choice at the end of last year to transition over to our ventures team. I have a strong belief that BP needs to work collaboratively with bold innovators, and that's really the remit of our team, is that how we bring the strength of BP to help with these bold disruptors that are key to how we unlock the energy transition. And within that, energy storage is really important as well, and I'm looking forward to talking more about that today.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Looking forward to hearing more about what BP has been up to over that since you joined the investment team. Over to you, Clara. If you could kindly introduce yourself and the work you do at SLB New Energy.
Sure, Oghosa. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks to the LDES Council for organizing this amazing webinar, and I really appreciate your invitation to be part of this conversation. My name is Carla Barrera. I am the Director of Business Development and Marketing for Energy Storage at SLB. I am based in Paris. In my role, I lead global business development and marketing for the business. I have been with the company for 18 years now and have been very lucky since the beginning of my career. I have had the opportunity to work in many places around the world, including Europe, Middle East, Africa, Australia, North and South America, and across different business management and technology domains, surrounded by amazing and diverse talent group of people. So in my experience, I have covered management consulting, strategy, business development, sales, marketing, technology, and new energies, and more recently, energy storage. So SLB launched the New Energy organization in 2020, and I am a proud founding member of that organization when we were only a handful of people. So I have seen the journey growing from the very beginning, and makes me very proud of how much we have achieved so far. Again, it's a real pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you, Clara. Thank you so much. And over to you, Wendy.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and also for some people, good afternoon. I'm glad to see we have everybody, so many women from all over the world, and I really appreciate Julia's team, LDES team, to organize this event and give us a party time or happy hour similar for all women. Yeah. I appreciate it, and I'm very glad I was invited to this event. So I graduated from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and I got my PhD in power system from that school. And after that, I joined California Independent System Operator, CAISO. I think if somebody familiar with the California probably know what CAISO is doing. It's a regulator, in fact, for all the utility. After that, after 5 years working CAISO, I changed to PG&E, the Pacific Gas and Electric. That's one of the largest utility in the U.S., I think, especially on the West Coast, that cover majority of California. So I work in PG&E for about 11 years, all in transmission planning. So all the renewable battery interconnection studies, how to connect to the grid, cluster study, all of those, and I have been doing study for that for years. Recently, in the last year, I started to change my job to CATL, that's a CATL, because when I feel there's a gap between utility and manufacturer or vendor. And the vendor doesn't know what the grid need. And they are very eager to talk to utility to get sense, like what's the best design for next generation of the battery. And by utility people, normally they don't directly talk to vendor because there's so many layers between utility and the vendor. And so I feel there's a gap. I would like to change my job, and if I can fill in to some extent of this gap and give vendor some guidance what utility need or what the grid need from our battery, and hopefully I can contribute to a better design in the next generation of the battery. And so that's how my story to change my job. But currently, when I work in Cato, I'm one is on business development, sales, commercial side, and another portion is policy, more focused on California policy and long duration energy storage. I think that's a trending, and I closely look at all those and introduce Cato to join LDES. So talk with Julia several times on that. And yeah, I think I will stop here, and very glad to meet everybody in today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Oh, it's so nice to just hear all three of you already doing phenomenal work in trying to amplify the conversation around flexibility, security, and reliability of long duration energy storage. I'm really looking forward to the conversation today. But before we start, just to give some focus to the conversation we'll be having, we're going to just share what we'll focus on. So Eric, if you could quickly just put up our focus slide. So briefly speaking, we're going to have like a key oversight on what the long duration energy storage, which is LDES, in case you hear LDES going around for short, and then also looking into diversity around LDES investment. So like who's investing in it, what is that temperature looking like, and then what kind of support for innovations or challenges are we currently seeing? Now, all of these are in respect to the women, as you've heard, playing key and significant roles in the LDES industry, and then looking more broadly into the evolution of LDES technologies, which involves, deployment, investment, and stakeholder coordination. And then also, if you're aware of the energy transition, I'm sure everyone on this call probably is, but looking more broadly into the conversation around decarbonization and how we can meet the demand for low carbon technologies. And then lastly, which is probably why we're all here, is what roles can women actually play in the deployment of LDES technologies? So thank you so much for your time. We're going to go straight into the questions right now, and I will be kicking off the first question actually with you, Rachel, just to obviously get a touch of the investment. There's always conversation around like who's going to fund all these technologies. So we know over 90% of VP Ventures funds 5 capital deployment projects is planned to focus on or around the transition growth in energies. So BP currently defines that as this low carbon investments. But like, how is BP Ventures rather, approaching diversity in investment strategies, particularly with LDES industry?
Oh, thanks. Great question. So maybe for those that are less familiar with this, BP Ventures is the corporate venture capital team within BP. We're actually one of the longest standing energy venture capital teams. We've been active since about 2007. We're a strategic investor, so we invest off the balance sheet to date. We've invested in about 75 startups, over 1.2 billion, and very diverse in our investments across that space, from power, hydrogen, bioenergy through to mobility investments. More than just a financial investor as well. So we really look to bring the capability that BP has to help younger companies scale and grow through making sure that we get a really strong corporate relationship with our startups that we invest in. Back in 2023, we refreshed our investment thesis into what you outlined as being Fund 5, and that's really to align with BP's corporate strategy that we outlined in 2020. BP is a huge organisation, as many of you I'm sure are aware, and we play across multiple energy value chains. So the areas that we look at from a ventures team are by nature very broad and very diverse. But specifically focusing on energy storage, we see a huge opportunity and opportunity for diversity in our investments within this space as well. I'll maybe just bring a bit of colour to that. So if we first think about power and that opportunity for energy storage in this space, BP, you may not know, but it has a material power business across the value chain already. We've got established power trading desks in the US, in Europe, in Asia Pacific. We also have direct customer base in mobility and commercial industrial sectors. We're looking for decarbonisation solutions, including power solutions. And we also have our own industrial assets, which we need to seek lower carbon solutions for both power and heat, including as we transition those assets to the likes of biofuels and hydrogen solutions. We're also building out our power capabilities further. So, for example, the generation side, we just recently acquired Lightsource BP, which has over 39 gigawatts solar pipeline over 19 countries, and we're actively building out our offshore wind business as well at gigawatt scale within this decade. So management of intermittency is really critical to how we deliver our strategy, and it plays to the strengths that we have in our trading businesses today as to how we unlock that value. As we think about heat, we also see huge opportunity for BP in this space as well. I'm sure that many on the call are aware of the scale of heat within the energy sector. It's about 45% of energy-related emissions. BP, we're a big player in the natural gas market. About 40% of natural gas at global scale currently goes into industrial applications for energy and feedstocks. And within the sort of industrial energy demand, about 55% of this is related to heat. BP, we have our own industrial assets that I touched on, our refineries, our growing biorefineries, our Castrol manufacturing facilities. So finding lower carbon solutions to decarbonise heat, both for our own assets and also the customers that we can serve through our existing business lines, is really important to how we deliver on our net zero goals. And these low carbon heat technologies that we're looking at could be a really attractive solution, both for BP, but also the world, as to how we deliver on our ambitions in this space. And we have a lot of opportunity to integrate those with the growing power generation businesses and scale that we have there to really unlock value. So just leading back to your question as to how we think about diversity in this space, we're a global company. We've got lots of different capabilities. We see opportunities for different types of LDES across the business lines that we have, and also the capabilities that we have. And as a venturing team, we're really looking to access a portfolio of different energy solutions to help drive value in this space. We've been really active over this year in particular at starting to build out the opportunity set there, and I think it's something you can see us being really active in the coming months.
Thank you so much, Rachel. So just moving now to Carla. So coming up the question to Rachel on diversity on investments and technologies, SLB is scaling new energy systems by accelerating the transition to low carbon energy. While this is incredible for stationary energy storage systems such as the RenGen Storage Plus Thermal Storage Solution, which was introduced just quite recently, how has the technology mix and solutions inclusion helped SLB to meet customer demand for low carbon technologies, especially focusing on LDES systems?
Thanks. That's a great question. So technology innovation at SLB has always been in our DNA since the company was created, now almost 100 years ago. For those who do not know SLB, we used to be known as Schlumberger, and we are a global technology company driving energy innovation for a balanced planet. And we have three main pillars on how we operate. The core, which is focused on decarbonizing the oil and gas industry, digital, and new energy, which is the division, the organization where I come from. So as you say, indeed, we have a portfolio of innovative technologies and solutions to meet the growing demand for low carbon energy systems across different domains, such as hydrogen, geothermal, geoenergy, critical minerals, carbon capture storage, and energy storage. On energy storage, we are focused on LDES technologies and solutions to enable reliable, sustainable, and affordable energy. As you pointed out, we have invested in cutting-edge technologies and are actively contributing to their development, while we also leverage our global footprint and industrialization capabilities to globally deploy and scale those technologies. Furthermore, we continue to actively pursue collaborations and partnerships with other technology providers, with research institutions and industry partners to advance low carbon technologies and accelerate the development of innovative energy storage solutions. As we all know, the need for reliable 24/7 energy continues to grow across all the economy and sectors. I will just name a few that are very obvious, such as data centers, mining, steel, cement, hydrogen, just to name a few. And SLB is effectively addressing the demand for storage solutions in those sectors and more in key geographies such as the US, Australia, the Middle East, to name a few, supporting the transition to cleaner energy systems.
Thank you so much. So just moving right into Wendy now, because you've mentioned this multi-million-dollar industry, which is LDES potential. So Wendy, the long-duration energy storage market is on track to become a multi-dollar industry. Moving into, us and the topic of the day, women in the space, what kind of skills should we be trying to capture while we're trying to enhance the deployment and the movement and all the synergies that are going on right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I first time stepped in Pato's headquarters office, I was so surprised to see so many women working there in the office. So I think, yeah, that's really, I'm really glad to see that. And also, of course, maybe one advertisement, if anybody want to join Cattle, Cattle is very, I think, women friendly, and no matter which department. So I think in order for us, for women to have the skill, they are first probably engineering skill. The engineering cover electrical engineering, mechanical, chemical, material science. So all those, especially for we call electrical chemical. I think at least for cattle, I saw many people they have this major. And in addition to that, for example, my background is on power system. I think the power system that's fall into electrical engineering, that's more focused, better understand grid and the power system, right? Because eventually all the energy storage will serve to make resiliency, reliability for the grid. And so that's also very important to know. If we have such knowledge, and also very wonderful for this industry. Of course, many women students maybe think, oh, I'm not quite good at on math, so it's hard to get into engineering department in the university. That doesn't matter. We have in this whole job, I think, such as project management, we have many people need to work on project management, and that not require very extensive engineering background. It's more management, supply chain management. So all those project management is another one, and also regulatory and policy. That's also a lot of discussion, right? Many stakeholder meetings, no matter where, and all those is very also critical. And so those regulatory policy knowledge, and if you learn policy department or policy major, and that's also a good choice. In addition, there are business side, business and finance, business development, or doing sales and market analysis. Those are additional things for women be able to very good at all. And data analyst and a software developer, uh, environmental, like a sustainability and environmental awareness or knowledge. And I know a couple of school all has environmental department, and that's a also good choice. So look at it from engineering, just to summarize, from engineering that's more technical skill to project management, policy, business, finance, data analyst, environmental. All those aspects, I think women could be very good at all, and that can cover probably variety of different departments or jobs that will be required for energy storage industry.
How
Yeah, what's that?
excited. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, thank you so much, Wendy.
so
You've done
many
a really
options.
great job. So many roles, exactly.
Yes,
Thank you so much for bridging on the diversity. Just moving to Rachel now. So BP Ventures has been signaled for diversity, and we've obviously seen this in the programs as well. So how is BP Ventures at the moment supporting startups in overcoming challenges between the investment ecospace, especially for women?
Yeah, so if I take a step back, we face such big challenges in energy transition, and my team's really focused about unlocking innovation. Innovation to me is about implementing ideas which drive value for society, and our venturing sector is one mechanism to deliver on this. We connect leading ideas with essential resources to scale up. Best game-changing ideas and ultimately winning businesses are those that can tap into a unique insight outside the mainstream, and they have those accesses to resource to enable success. So DE&I, diversity and inclusion, is core to what we aim to deliver as a corporate venture capital team. We're seeking source startups where there's a strategic and symbiotic relationship with BP to how we drive that value. For startups bring the bold, innovative, diverse ideas, we seek to be inclusive in our access to the corporate to de-risk and scale those critical solutions through the strengths that we can bring and scale. At BP Ventures, we're well supported by BP's DE&I policy and framework. So this guides our hiring, our talent development, We're making really good progress internally. We've now got over 40% female representation in my team, including at leadership level, who steer our investment decisions and guide our activities. But there's definitely more that we want to do in this space. We really want to invest in more female founders and teams. But data gives evidence to the value of this. So just as some examples, Harvard Business Review 2018 study looked at over 14,000 venture capital investments, 42,000 startups, and it highlighted that homogeneity in race education delivered 32% lower success rate than M&A and IPO. It also showed that having at least one female leader in a venture capital fund delivered 10% improved performance. So really the evidence is there that DE&I drives value. However, recent research also shows that we're under-delivering. So for example, in Europe, 7% of the capital raised in venture funding had a female founder, and only 15% of startups founded in the last 3 years had mixed gender teams. And if we look at data from women going into science, technology, engineering, and maths, STEM degrees, they've been steady at about 26% over the last decade. And this declines actually to 12% for those that are coming into engineering professions and into the workforce. So really at the forefront of my mind is how do we better support the sector in mobilising more female talent into these areas, from university then into the workforce. These STEM skills that are the foundation to the innovation that we need in the energy system, and we need to encourage more diversity into this talent pool to make sure that we find the best solutions to the challenges that we need to solve for. It needs to start really early as well. So I've got my own personal experience. There's only one in 10 of my fellow graduates at university were female. I've had roles in the workplace where I've been the only female as well. To me, I've had a really great, diverse career, really challenging career, and I can think of very few other more interesting places to work than the energy sector. So I think there's real opportunity to continue to role model and advocate for the opportunity in this space as well. And it's something that we're trying to actively do through working with BP internally, through sort of early career development teams, and also through the venture capital lens. We've recently joined a group called European Women in VC to help try and mobilise more active mobilisation of diverse talent into the venture sector as well.
That's really exciting. And just the proactive examples that you're listing has been very instrumental to this conversation. So thank you so much for sharing, Rachel. Kara, so just wanted to find out looking at the business development standpoint, which is kind of your role and I guess your day-to-day, how do you see the landscape for long duration energy storage evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? And then what role can women play in shaping this evolution?
Thanks for the question. Indeed, the landscape for LDES is poised for significant evolution over the next 5 to 10 years. As more renewable energy penetrates the grid, the need for longer duration systems is imminent, and we all understand that. So this is great music to business development to my ears, as we are seeing robust growth year after year. But let me expand on 3 key factors that I believe will continue to be driving this growth. First of all, technology advancements. We are likely to see advancements in various diverse LDES technologies, including pump hydro, different types of electrochemistries, advanced compressed air energy storage, other mechanical. So we are all very familiar with them. Each one really has its own strengths and potential use cases, and their maturity will shape the market. The other point under technology advancements is the continuous R&D. So continuous R&D will lead to more efficient, cost-effective, and scalable storage solutions. I am also expecting to see more breakthroughs in areas such as material science, energy density, and system integrations, for example. And this aligns very nicely with what Wendy was saying around the need to have more female talent embarking in these very important professions and developing these competencies. The second factor is really the economic factor. So cost reduction is very important. As technologies mature and economies of scale are realized, the cost of LDES systems is expected to decrease, right? And with this, it will enhance their competitiveness against other energy storage solutions and the traditional grid infrastructure. Also within economic factors is the increased investment. So from who? From private and public sectors. This is very critical, right? We all need, we have seen here Rachel coming from BP Ventures, who is actively addressing this critical need. But also government, right? Government incentives, climate policies to drive adoption and innovation. And finally, related to the last point is policy. We need policies that support the energy transition and storage solutions. This includes different mechanisms such as subsidies, tax incentives, and mandates for renewable energy integration, for example, which is very important. To your second question, Oghosa, around the role of women in shaping this evolution, I am a firm believer that women can and will play a transformative role in the evolution of LDES. That's why we are all here. We need more women in leadership positions within energy companies, research institutions, and policy-making bodies to lead and drive strategic decisions and set the priorities for LDES development. We also need more female entrepreneurs to lead new startups and come up with innovative LDES technologies and business models. We need women scientists and engineers, again, resonating with what Wendy was talking about before, to contribute to advancing LDES technologies through research and development. And we need women in policy. We already have. So those women who are in policy and advocacy roles at the moment can influence regulations and incentives that support LDES adoption and integration. We must use our voice to play a crucial role in raising awareness about the importance of LDES and the benefit that it offers, influencing public opinion and consumer demand. And let's not forget about coaching and mentoring other women. We must engage in educational initiatives and community leadership to inspire and train the next generation of energy professionals to ensure to have a diverse talent pipeline for the future. So certainly women's participation in these areas will be essential in driving progress and ensuring that the evolution of LDES is innovative, inclusive, and impactful.
Thank you so much, Kara. So I think just speaking on shaping the future and looking at, what's possible, I'm sure a lot of people on the call, or maybe not, have heard of, global sustainability indexes and what their sustainable development goals look like shaping forward. Qatar was recently featured as an S&P Global Sustainability Yearbook. Congratulations. But to you, Wendy, where do we see the future of LDES technologies in the role that it would play in achieving these global sustainability goals that we have set out?
Next question. I feel LDES is the most critical component to achieve the global sustainability because we already have so many renewables, but only with renewables, it won't be able to do 100% to maintain the system stability and reliability. And so the LDES will be the most critical one. And LDES has lots of different applications to support or be able to enable the global sustainability. For example, everybody know for renewable integration and LDES, the higher renewable penetration, the longer duration energy storage we need. And so that's very obvious for grid, like I said, for grid stability, energy shifting, and all those, we only with renewable is not enough. Renewable need to combine with LDES, be able to do a fully integration and achieve the system or grid stability. So in addition, for example, the energy resiliency, we know the disaster, weathers, wildfires, right? And that wildfires all over so far. And so we need sometimes we need a macrogrid and off-grid area, very remote area. And all those is achieve resiliency. And even during the extreme weather or very remote area, and still could have renewable. And that will require, if we really totally off the grid, we really need a long duration energy storage because the solar could just last for 5-6 hours. Other than that, all we need another 20 hours, right, to serve the whole day. And that the macrogrid, the off-the-grid macrogrid, and will require long duration. Reducing the carbon emission, for example, replace old gas generation. I think in California, we do have many old gas generation that close to their retirement age. And one policy discussion right now is using LDES, long duration energy storage, to replace the gas generation. That can reduce the carbon emission dramatically. And so that's one application. And also load management. Everybody, I just name a few, for example, the data center. Data center will have a large amount of load increase in the next 5 to 10 years. Electrification will all change to EV cars. That increase the load also dramatically. It combined the data center, electrification, everything that will make the load increase dramatically. And if the load, based on some forecast, it's going to be doubled or tripled in the next 20 years. But our grid will not be able to hold on that dramatic load increase. And so LDES combined with renewable, that could be a solution for load management. And we don't need to upgrade the transmission too much, and but use all those new technologies, and we'd be able to offset the load. And so to achieve like a 24/7 even. And the load management, I think LDES will play a very critical role in the future, especially for data center or electrification. And the last one is not everybody quite familiar, is transmission and distribution deferral. And this part is not that many use cases at this moment, but when I work in PG&E, I did propose one project that's 100, for example, 170 megawatt hour long duration energy storage to replace a $300 million transmission underground cable. So this is a LDES could be a good solution for transmission distribution deferral, and that's even save the money, not only the money and the time, because right now the transmission capacity shortage will become a very critical bottleneck for renewable interconnection, for load interconnection, for many things happening. So the LDES could play a very critical role also in this area. And so many things that LDES could do and to help the system to achieve that sustainability. And it just how can we promote all this usage and make a beautiful a pilot project and to let everybody know. And LDES has such very good benefit to the system.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. I love the way you tied the sustainability goals and the global metrics to how LDES can come into play. Thank you so much, Wendy. We're almost wrapping up our questions, but please, participants, use the Q&A box. We want to see your questions for this conversation. Just moving back to Rachel now. So BP launched its net zero aims in 2020 to deliver them. How are LDES technologies evolving over the next decade? But in this instance, what kind of implications should stakeholders and investors really pay attention to while advancing into the LDES economy almost?
So I've been a long-term advocate in this space, I think as Julia outlined, as part of the founding members for the council, and it's really rewarding, I think, to take stock on some of the achievements that have been made since COP26, just in terms of the level of awareness and progress in some of the technologies since. I'm really optimistic and excited about the growing opportunity and direction of travel in this space. Maybe bucket into kind of factors, the market readiness and the technology readiness. Consider first the market readiness aspects. So if you look at, for example, like IEA data, about 13% of global power generation today is from variable renewable sources. If we look at BP's Energy Outlook, which we recently published, we expect variable renewable generation to reach about 40-45% of power generation by 2035. Some of the great work from the LDES Council is showing the correlation between that increasing penetration of variable renewables levels and the need for storage, with trigger point being around, I think it's 50-70% for solutions over 8 hours starting to kind of be required in the mix. If we look now at the mix of where countries are. We see a lot of countries already at 40% or greater, and the rate of growth of renewables is astounding. Over 60%, over 6% per annum, and rapidly evolving. So we can expect those sort of thresholds to be met in coming years. We already see energy markets responding to this with grid-scale battery storage deployment over 56 gigawatts today, and increasing at about 56 or 64% per annum in recent years. Whilst there's more to do in that enabling policy, I think there's some really strong demand side signals, particularly, for example, in Europe. So set clear demand signals through to 2030, for example, under the European Green Deal emission trading scheme. We need to see emissions reduced by 43% by 2030. Carbon border adjustment mechanisms also send that global signal as to how we need these key sectors and supply chains to decarbonise. And under things like the Renewable Energy Directive, clear signals about the sort of scale of renewables energy technologies that we need in the mix within those timeframes as well. And also action to help unlock things like permitting and deployment in industrial use cases. So big goals, but a clear growing need for storage solutions to play a key role there. Then on the technology progress side, again, some great movement there. Looking again towards sort of governments, policymakers, seeing great support come through at that sort of early stage of funding, US, DOE, the UK, in terms of some of the innovation support that they provide. I speak daily with lots of companies across different maturity levels who are ready to lean into action. So I see everything from companies who have successfully piloted and demonstrated their technologies and are ready for that commercial deployment, to new entrants who are looking to push the boundaries on energy storage performance for the future, or innovating new business models to overcome some of the structural issues that we've faced, to allow these technologies to deploy at scale and at pace. In combination with that early stage funding, we also see venture capital, key players at that early stage moving meaningfully in this space. So as of this year, we've now got more than 2.3 billion cumulative deployed into LDES technologies from venture capital sources, and that continues to grow with with financing split across different technology types and maturity stages of companies as well. And I continue to see this as that player and an investor in that early stage of the technology life cycle, real opportunity to continue to lean in just based on that positive direction of travel that I've outlined. But in parallel, we see that we need to continue to work to unlock more finance sources. So one thing that's on our mind and very live is how do we overcome first of a kind project issues, mobilise more diverse finance sources and the key capabilities that we need to execute and scale these technologies up at space. So we're really working with partners and stakeholders to addressing some of the issues in that space. So I guess in short, still a lot more to do across different things, but I think the direction of travel is really positive for investors, both like myself at the early stage, but also in terms of investors looking towards how these technologies mature as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Rachel. You've just given a really clear overview of where we are at the investment space. Julia kindly has put the report from the LDES Council that Rachel mentioned in the chat box. But just moving on now to Clara, just to wrap up the conversation today, we're currently, Rachel and Wendy has mentioned the conversation on the variable penetration for renewables, but how can the long duration energy storage industry better collaborate now with all these other sectors, like the renewable energy, electric vehicles space, green hydrogen, to drive innovation at a bigger scale and a scale that's more sustainable and also financially viable for the economy?
Yeah, another great question. So my view is there are many synergies across these sectors, and definitely more collaboration is crucial for driving innovation and scaling the solutions. So in short, let me go one by one, and then I'll cover expand on some examples of areas of collaboration. So the integration of LDES with renewable energy projects, in my view, needs to become the norm, right? This to enhance grid stability and reliability. Co-location really can make a difference to ensure that energy storage solutions are optimized for the specific generation profiles, from the very beginning. In regards to electric vehicles, LDES systems can complement EV batteries by providing long-duration storage to balance out short-term fluctuations and enhance grid stability. But also the other way around, EV batteries can also be leveraged for grid services, such as vehicle-to-grid technologies, for example, right? And in regards to green hydrogen production can also benefit from LDES by providing a means to store excess renewable energy. This stored energy can then be used for the production of hydrogen through electrolysis. And these collaborative efforts can really optimize the timing and scale of hydrogen production to align with storage capabilities and grid needs. Now, let me cover some of the examples for areas of collaboration as how I see. Developing shared infrastructure and standards, for example, this to streamline integration. For instance, having standardized interfaces for energy storage systems and EV charging stations can simplify the deployment of combined solutions. Another example, sharing the infrastructure like charging networks and hydrogen refueling stations can also facilitate broader adoption and efficiency. Another aspect that would be beneficial is joint research and development, R&D. So collaborative R&D efforts and joint research projects between LDES companies, renewable energy providers, EV manufacturers, and green hydrogen developers can accelerate the development of novel technologies addressing energy storage materials, for example, system efficiency and cost reduction. Collaborative advocacy for supportive policies and regulations, and working together to influence energy policies. Subsidies and standards can also help align incentives across sectors and promote the deployment of integrated energy solutions. Another great example is joint pilot projects. I think it was Wendy who talked about pilot projects as well. But doing it jointly can showcase the benefits of integrated systems. For example, demonstrating a project where LDES, renewable energy, and EVs are all part of a single ecosystem can provide really practical insights into system interactions and validate technologies in real-world use cases and conditions. Hosting joint conferences, workshops, and forums can facilitate knowledge exchange and networking among industry stakeholders as well. These platforms will help in sharing best practices, discussing challenges, and exploring opportunities for collaboration. So I think, as I said at the beginning, there are a lot of synergies across the sectors. And yes, we are starting to see some progress, but I think more collaboration will definitely be needed and be beneficial. By fostering these collaborations, the long-duration energy storage industry can definitely enhance its contributions to a more sustainable and resilient energy system. So even meetings like this one, I think they are of tremendous value. Let's continue doing them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Clara. Of course, meetings like this are just great. I mean, just the conversation today has been amazing and insightful. Thank you so much to the three of you. We have some really great questions already in the Q&A box, and where we're still good for time, we're just going to jump into the questions. Please, the participants, feel free to keep bringing the questions in. So I'll start with the first one from the bottom up now, and it's from Miyaka, and she's asking, well, thank you so much. She's saying, but she's curious on what's the panelists think are some of the biggest challenges women face in entering and advancing within the LDES industry, and how can organizations address these barriers? So open question to all three of you, if anyone wants to take turns, or maybe we can have Rachel or Wendy or Clara first. Anyone? It's open space. All right, Rachel, over to you then.
I guess I can lend my own experience. I think that, I had a lot of value, at least from a technical perspective, and I guess the sort of engineering degree that I picked as, at a young stage in my career. And then working in a company, just practicing and developing those engineering skills were really important, even though they weren't directly in long-duration energy storage. Having, I guess, sort of understanding my own career experience, understanding how the skills that I developed could apply to different energy technologies was quite important to me, and I think that I took a lot of value from having access to mentors and sponsors that could help to guide my thinking in that space as well, and see how the sort of skills and foundations that I had offered opportunities to me in other spaces. So I guess maybe my sort of advice is to just make sure that you have a really good network and peer group that can help to sort of challenge how you think about your career and maybe help you see other avenues that you can access that your skill set might benefit from.
I'm happy to chime in.
Yes, please.
Yes, I agree with what Rachel has mentioned. I think being intellectually curious and having a mindset of continuous learning is very important. So continue always asking questions, understanding things, and it's really you never stop learning, right? The other important thing I think is that we need to empower women. We need to give them the opportunity to make decisions, to trust them. This is more related to the coaching and the mentoring, but this is really important. I think women are very resilient, and this really helps with the characteristics that are needed to be in this industry and in others and to lead. I think that we also need to tell ourselves not to be too hard sometimes, because we have so many different roles and different hats. Sometimes if we are very much focused on we love our work, our careers, then we say that comes as a sacrifice. But I think that it's really important to learn to balance. And as I said before, not to be too hard on yourself. Definitely create a support system. If you're lucky to have family living close by, use them for help. If you're lucky to have, I don't know, full-time nannies, use them for help. Create your own support system as well with friends. When I used to live in Houston, I had an amazing support system, sleepovers. When I was traveling, my husband was traveling, so we were always able to find a solution. And also think about yourself. Do spend some time for yourself. So the me time is also very important.
Thank you so much. So we've got 3 questions in the Q&A here, and I think I'll assign them all to all 3 of you again, just cautious about time. I'll read them out and then assign them, just for some balance. The next question is from Taida, and is asking, what are the improvement phases that women need to build their capacity to meet the need for LDES, and to become experts for high-level standard in energy sector? And what are the expected challenges they would face, I'm guessing, while implementing this capacity building? So I guess this question is really just asking around like capacity building and what women need to do in order to capture this brewing multi-billion industry for LDES. Maybe I'll ask this to Rachel. Rachel, if you could help us here.
Yeah, sure. I don't think it's true of just women, but I think that practicing like sort of professional excellence and having pride in the skills that you want to develop is really important. And we need lots of different skills. I know that I've spoken from a technical and engineering perspective, but a learning from my career is just the importance of collaboration across different skill sets to make these energy system problems work. And that's everything from engineering technical through to key policy and influencing skills, commercial finance skills. So I think that's really important. It's just building excellence in your field. But I think, leading to Carla's point, I think being actively curious as well. So these are novel challenges that we're facing. You need to think differently, and having the sort of courage and boldness to challenge and think a little bit disruptively within that system, I think is important to success, and also how we all win as a society in this space.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rachel. I mean, Wendy did a fantastic job of listing out the different skills. Yes, Wendy, please. You did such a good job listing out the different skills. So please chime into this aspect on building capacity.
One thing, maybe we can think about outside of the box or get out of your comfortable zone. For example, I'm comfortable with the power system, right? I'm majored in power system and work in the utility side. But the vendor side is I'm not familiar with that, but I want to expand my knowledge. So don't be afraid to jump from your comfortable zone outside of that and to something you want to expand your knowledge. And when I get into this job, I learned a lot inside out of the battery and the technology. This is a very different knowledge with the grid, with the power system need. And so I think it's just for us, for women, and don't be afraid to jump into something you don't feel familiar, but you can spend your skill and knowledge on that. Yeah, just one example. My
No,
own
thank you so much.
my own
No,
story.
thank you so much. And you're so right. You're very right. This next question is from Andrea, and it's asking, the energy sector is very unpredictable when you consider political, technological, environmental, and economic and regulatory factors. What would you say to women who are reluctant to join the industry due to the unpredictable future of the industry? Carla, maybe this is one you could kick off on. It's just
Yeah, certainly. I think, nobody has a crystal ball and knows for certain what will happen in the future, right? So I think it's good to have, manage risks. If you're young, you also should give yourself the opportunity to try new things, not only if you're young, but, diversity in decisions and managing the risk is important. So maybe also, kind of expanding on what Wendy said before. Don't be afraid to jump into something. Yes, there will always be uncertainties. There will always be things that you cannot control. But we all know the importance of energy in the planet, and I think it's a great industry to give it a try.
You're right. Definitely energy is this bedrock of a lot of conversations happening. So please give it a try and start with long duration energy storage if you must. The final question that we have on the Q&A box, I think, yeah, is saying, I'm a student in renewable energy systems. So is it possible for me to work on the R&D department? What technical skill sets should I develop? I would like to know the future role hydrogen could play in the energy transition. So this is asking more technology frenzy question. Maybe I'll give this to Rachel or Clara or Wendy. Maybe Rachel, please, you can start, and then you can all have turns for like a minute or so before we wrap up tonight.
How about I take the hydrogen one and then the Carla can take the other. So I guess within BP we see a really important role for hydrogen as well. It already plays, hydrogen as a molecule already has a key market today in refineries, growing into biorefineries, in the ammonia sector as well as a feedstock, and it's important that we find ways to decarbonise that. So finding low carbon hydrogen solutions is really important, and a problem that we do need to address. And there could be opportunities as well for hydrogen to emerge into other applications, for example, in industrial processes as well. So it's something that we think is important and a scalable opportunity within BP as well, in addition to all these other technologies we've been speaking about today. And then I'll let maybe our co-panelists have a word on others.
Yeah. Wendy?
I feel hydrogen is a pretty good trending, and but I saw even in China there are a lot of investment on hydrogen, and yeah, that's extremely long duration energy storage could play that role. And also hydrogen, we could have a green hydrogen, maybe not right now, maybe a little bit more expensive, but in the future when the cost goes down, the green hydrogen will be could achieve like a 24/7 such and such. So a lot of usage for green hydrogen. It could be a very good focus on point for long duration energy storage. If a student want to do that, I would encourage them to learn that.
Thank you. And just lastly now, Clara, if you can, tap on the question just briefly before we wrap up tonight.
Yes, certainly. So on hydrogen, I think we're seeing steady growth, and I think that until 2030 it will continue like that. But after that, we will be seeing more robust growth. There's still, the cost points are needed to be reached, but I think governments are doing a great job in certain parts of the world to support this increase and support hydrogen, because it's going to be muchly needed as well. So I think on hydrogen, that's what I can add. In regards to the skills for R&D, I think, as you mentioned also, Wendy already listed everything that is needed, scientists and engineers. There are so many domains and specialities. It's more a curiosity. I go back to what I said before on the intellectual curiosity that you have. Search and learn more and see what else you can do that hasn't happened to create a breakthrough.
Indeed, creating a breakthrough. And just on that, we are at the top of the hour. Thank you so much, Clara, Rachel, and Wendy, and our panelists and the people who jumped on questions. I don't know if Julia is able to say a quick thank you as well, but this has been so insightful. And like we said at the beginning, it's recorded. So please go on YouTube and subscribe to the LDES Council YouTube channel so you can be informed of all our webinars and our conversations that we're having to amplify the conversation for long duration storage. Julia, if you can briefly help us
Thank you,
wrap up.
Oghosa. It was a fantastic conversation and just hearing so much about innovation and financing and the benefits of long duration storage weaved together with journeys of all of you in your career paths. I mean, just bringing your shared expertise has been so insightful. And thank you, Oghosa, for leading a great panel, and look forward to our continued discussions and collaboration. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, everyone.